Hey, welcome to Black Amethyst Oracle. This is Carmen, and before I get into what I have here on the table and today's readings, I just wanted to mention a couple of things. First of all, timelessness. I am a believer in synchronicity. I believe that you will find messages in many ways and forms when you're meant to, when they hit you, when they will help you, when they mean something. And so that said, you can find this reading or any of them at any time. And if they resonate, they resonate. If they don't, they don't. So, don't be discouraged by time of recording type things. I really believe this, So with that out of the way, I would like to also acknowledge how I do take my cues, especially recently, from astrological events. A lot of what I'm feeling called to do readings about has to do with very current energy. So, maybe extra relevant if you're finding it right on time. I don't know. You can be the judge of that. It's your time. The other thing I wanted to say is if you saw my previous upload, I was talking about how I had 3 readings on deck that are Scorpio season inspired and they feel big. I was excited about them. I still am. They feel relevant and important. I wasn't sure which one to do first. So this one, I'm calling the Phoenix Rising reading, has been inspired by tomorrow's solar eclipse with the sun and moon both being in Scorpio, the moon blocking the sun, the moon really taking the forefront. So perfect for Scorpio. And here, this reading is about reclaiming the self, your self-worth, and your regeneration of who you are and what you're doing, what you're up to, what you really feel deep down. Okay, so I'm calling this Phoenix Rising, if I didn't say that already, because as you know, I'm sure, the Phoenix rises from its own ashes to be something bigger and better than before. And I think we can do this several times in life. And let this be one of those times if we're descending into our shadow, into any seasonal darkness, let's go, let's come out, radiant and aflame with passion and knowingness, I'm going to introduce you to these groups, and I will insert a close-up still for a few secs after the intro. And I did want to say also, if you saw the last reading, I have been really infusing my own personal spirit more. While I have felt a certain amount of danger and hesitancy to be completely open to the world via the internet, just all the energy that is there, sharing, receiving, it's heavy, it's a lot, and you should be cautious in doing such a thing. I feel that I can receive and give the best possible, most genuine readings if I'm really pulling from my own personal being and spirit. So I've been doing that, and I'm continuing at this point. I have then chosen to use for this reading my 3, probably top 3 favorite decks. I do favor many. There are probably at least 3 more that I love very dearly. However, these are close to me. These are the ones I use for myself the most, for my own personal private communion. And I also have decided to use crystals and stone that I am personally attached to, that I don't generally show in groups. I usually have these guys on the table, and I usually use this very personally. So I will introduce you to these, and I will show you one of the oracle cards from each group just to give you a further hint about the energy. Okay, So number one is using this ARCANA playing card tarot deck. And this quartz with some hematite in it. The oracle I will show you is Mountain for number one. Number two is using FLUX ARCANA tarot. And this smoky quartz you've probably seen if you've been around. It's pretty much always around. And the oracle crown. And number three, tarot of the Holy Spectrum and black opal. Never seen on my channel before. This is very personal. So this is I use this often for personal comfort, whereas I use these in my readings. And the card, oracle card that I'll show you from group 3 is Sun. Okay? So you may find messages for yourself in any or all 3 of these groups. I know that I will. So I'm really excited to dive in. I'll see you at your reading. Hi to group 1. Chose this quartz and the ARCANA playing cards deck, Mountain, and the Shaman. These are talking to me about a process and an emerging energy, so I will get into those. I also meant to mention in the intro, but I forgot. I did launch my Patreon. If you're interested, it'll be linked in the bio. And it's a place to get. I decided I'll do an exclusive collective general reading each week, and also there's an option for receiving a monthly reading, personal. So, and also my art and writing, or at least poetry, will show up there. If you're interested in fiction or even nonfiction that I've written, you could contact me. All right. Group 1. Get used to the standard size, and it's harder to go back to the small guys. The first thing I want to do is look at current and recent energy, recent and current energy for group 1. All right, we have an Ace of Cups. Current, recent. A Knight of Cups. What are you doing? One more. Current and recent energy. The Moon. So this is telling me that maybe currently and recently you have had either a new passion or love interest sparking up, or renewed love. You may have found forgiveness in some sector of your life, like just a general overflowing of the heart, a feeling of just so much love to give and possibly to have received with this this Knight of Cups, there's a feeling of romance, there's a feeling of desire for it, or it being a factor currently or recently in your life, someone coming toward you, you going towards someone. For these to both show up, it's, you know, there's certainly feels to me like love is important to you right now. Not just love in the big giant all sentient, you know, creator sense, but in the overflowing of the heart and the emotions, some great passion being ignited within you. And with the moon, just a real pull toward your romantic urges, a pull toward something that feels quite primal. You know, this, whatever it is, if you've been connecting with someone or just desiring deeply to connect with someone, it would be very much craving a soul mate. Like, I get the feeling here wanting nothing but the absolute, like, best match, not wanting to really waste time giving into places where it isn't helping you or is being taken for granted. Potentially some just big changes in this. This may be a big change for you. This, maybe you have a whole different perspective on romance and love now. Yeah, there's a feeling here of just a fresh start in this department, like really, whether it's with an actual person or just the desire to have that. It's kind of doing away with all past ties and binds and relationships, and just really a fresh way of viewing your own heart and what you have to give is what I'm feeling here. What kind of motivation and inspiration, or even triggers? What has been motivating and inspiring? One. Oh my goodness. 2 of Cups. You got love on the brain. Ten of Swords. Talking to me more about old ways being done. Doing everything differently now. Inspiration and motivation for 1. And we have a 7 of Wands. Yeah, so you may have been feeling inspired to set clear boundaries, to just no longer deal with energy that is draining or bickering type of energy, or, you know, wasted love is what I'm feeling. Like, you don't want to waste it. It's just really more of the same. Yeah, for the first card out for your inspiration and motivation right now to be the 2 of Cups. I mean, clearly, like I said, love on the brain, Rihanna song. It seems to be, I mean, Ace to Knight, a big element at play here for you. Like, romance and love is weighing heavily on your spirit as a guiding sort of force into the direction that you're headed. But as far as like love relationships themselves, like I said, I feel this, what I mentioned over here about wanting to only kind of like invest where you really, really feel it, and kind of just like hold out for the best is what I get. Then over here, it's sort of reinforced that, you know, soul contracts, bonds, etc. are really the driving inspiration. And Ten of Swords speaking about just cutting out old ways, old habits, old tendencies, seeing that in yourself, seeing the ways of past relationships, the way you've done love before, and setting up those clear boundaries and really withholding of your heart and having the, not just the courage and strength, but just the absolute will to do it. Like to just really just, it's almost like I said over here with this perspective shift, like there's a feeling here of an absolute just a like a turn of hand, you know, like a turn of the way you play your hand, like a change in the way you do this thing. So this is all very clear to me, and if it feels like a place where you are or where you've been, excuse me, then so far so good. We are looking at the Mountain card, speaking of a stillness and a strength and an enlightenment. So it does make sense to me that you would have had like a lot of revelations around, you know, what it is for you to be grounded and what it is you're reaching for. And as far as what you're reaching for, whether you know it or not, it feels, you know, the Shaman card is speaking of emerging energy being enlightened energy, of it being, you know, this leveled up zone of you being someone who has been the forever student, you know, like thirsty and hungry for knowledge about souls and about the, you know, everything about love and just how to implement the things that you learn, how to self-heal. There's a big feeling here of this being inspired by your own higher self rather than externally, if that makes sense to you. It's like, you know, the motivation and inspiration here, love relationships, but here it's this knowingness of how things have to be and how the past is done, and, you know, the ways of the past, your own personal ways of handling things, and how you're going to do boundaries now. This is a self-awareness around love. And so this Shaman card speaking of self-healing, and, you know, we'll get into it more, but the Shaman card is also speaking of what it is for you to have that power, have that knowledge, and to actually have the almost duty, responsibility, or calling to share it. Certainly interesting for me, given this deck and my feelings about this deck and the time in my life when I used it exclusively for years. This particular crystal that I use in almost every reading I do, just off to the side usually. Certainly a thing. And I will just share this little tiny story because I'm trying to incorporate more of this stuff just for further confirmation, resonance. A long time ago, when I was in my 20s, I went to a card reader, psychic, named Shar, and I lived in Seattle, and she really nailed how I was feeling at the time. You know, I remember she said I had thrown all my balls in the air and I was just waiting for them to fall and kind of seeing how things would fall into place. And I remember feeling that very much. I was trying to make decisions about my next move and where to go. And I told her I had this pull to just remove myself from society, to just, you know, go off into nature, go off in the woods, go up on the mountain, go to the ocean, and just live a solitary existence that I struggled so much with people. And she told me about my life path number being a 6 and how I was a leader and how it was in my destiny to lead and teach, and that, you know, no matter what, even if I went to the top of the mountain, my community would still be there at the base, because I had this in my mission to give and to teach others. And I'm saying this to you now, it's highly personal. I don't know if I've told anyone this, but this is all related. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And I feel that if you're connecting so far with any of this, and what is to come of this reading, that it's something in that old message I've carried for many years. I mean, my goodness, I must have been 1995-ish. It was the early 90s. And then I wanted to go back to Shar, and I found out she moved to Mount Shasta. She left Seattle and moved to the mountains. It was weird. It was like we had this conversation and then she moved to the mountain. Anyway, mountain, shaman, felt like I should tell you the story. I do want another card about all this. What does Spirit have to say about what I just revealed? High Priestess, what more do you need? This could be you. This could be you. Yeah. Everything I just told you, the story I told you, the shaman, the high priestess is one and the same for the most part. For in many ways, they're certainly can share a mission, but certainly share powers. Okay. All right, feeling good so far. So what I would like to look into next is what's coming up that may need to be sacrificed. What do we need to potentially let go? Sacrifice. Oh, and that was crazy. That was crazy. Where was that? Oh, I have to share it. I have to share it. I told you it's going to be personal and I'm sharing it. So, you know, where is it? Listen to this message that I got on the Chani app for my affirmation for the week, because this is relevant, okay? Rebirth is my right, but it requires me to make a sacrifice to its fire. I offer my self-pity, my arrogance, and my resentments in exchange for my renewal. That felt really necessary for me to share with you right now. I read that this morning. It's my affirmation for the week. Very fitting for me, possibly very fitting for you. Certainly was called to say that. So I know I've been experiencing quite a bit of self-pity, quite a bit of arrogance, and quite a bit of resentment. So let us sacrifice into the fire for renewal. What are we potentially sacrificing here? In order to renew, what does group 1 need to sacrifice? Oh, 7 of Swords. That fight and that conflict. What else? And that dishonesty, that untruth, that desire to leave it all behind and avoid your own responsibilities. That it may be time to give up, you know, certain aspects of the self that are drowning in self, like drowning in ego, just really not wanting to face the truth of what you're doing and what your responsibility is and what you've signed up for. What, you know, do you feel you've bitten off more than you can chew in life? Sorry, my cards are a little mixed up and it will drive. See, the thing about playing cards as tarot cards is, you know, I don't do reversals, but You can't with them, because look at this one, for example, and this one. There's no reversal of these two. However, these two could have. So it's just not consistent. It's one of the reasons I stopped using reversals. But anyway, so I hope that made sense. Oh, fucking shit. Sorry. Do. All right. Shuffle. More about sacrifice for renewal, letting go to gain. This group want you to consider throwing into the fire. Another prompt, one of my favorite writers is Harry Cruz. If you haven't heard of him, perhaps you would like him. He's no longer with us, but he's from Georgia, wrote about very gritty, real characters from life, had a lot to do with my interest in writing about where I'm from as well. Anyway, there's an interview of his that I've watched over and over and over, and he said you can't be afraid to throw all the pages in the fire. Like, of all the work you've done, you can't be afraid to just throw it in the fire, so to speak, you know, because in order for the greater work to come, you know, you have to sometimes you just have to call it. And when I was a preschool teacher back in the 90s in Seattle, we had to do earthquake training. And I remember the concept that we learned about when we were talking about looking for survivors in a devastating earthquake or whatever. And it was crazy because we're talking about little kids, you know, 3 and 4 year olds that I was working with. And they were like, you have to be able to tag them black, which is so heavy and so harsh, but so real. In a search and rescue effort, when you've come upon someone who's, you know, down and out and done, dead, you have to tag it black and move on to find someone else who needs your support. So that comes through to me now as something to say to you around this. Like, you have to be able to throw, you know, certain aspects of old beliefs, outdated principles and ideas that you maybe held on to for too long. You have to let them go in order for new things that you've learned, the new knowledge that you have, to take root and flourish and take you in a new direction. Sacrifice. Emperor. This to me is speaking about the need for control. We may have to sacrifice, give up the need to feel like we have absolute control of everything and our own lives and destiny. While I don't believe we have to hand our fate over, so to speak, to some unseen force that has predetermined our lives and our missions, you know, there's an element of that. I do believe that some of us especially come with a soul's calling, you know, something we know we're here to do. And I feel that very, very strong. And this may be a message for you about releasing that idea that you have total power over every outcome and how your life is going. Not only do you not have that power, you just can't always prevent mishaps and redirections and changes of course. It's a very difficult, this is ego, you know, this is dishonesty about ego, and this is ego showing its face to me as far as like sacrifice. And it tells me too, like I'll share another personal thing with you. 5 years ago today, I saw it in my camera. 5 years ago today, I took a positive pregnancy test. My son was not planned, not expected. I didn't even believe it was possible. It was random, it was crazy, it feels immaculate. I was thrown off course. I didn't know what I was gonna do, and it was the last thing I wanted or expected. I had other plans. I was just beginning to get certain parts of my life together after a very traumatic divorce, and after getting my daughter, who's severely disabled, into a school routine, and just a lot of things were starting to feel a certain way for me, a certain right for me. I was doing something I loved. I felt a lot of promise for what was ahead finally, after a long period of darkness. And then I got a pregnancy test, 5 years ago today, and my first reaction was no, not doing this. And then I had this very nagging feeling. I knew that I already knew my son. I could feel him. I knew he was a boy. I could feel his energy. I knew exactly who he was. And to this day, he shows up in my real life. Here he is, doing things I always knew he would do. He's exactly who I expected. And it's just like, even though I didn't expect anything until I made the decision to bring him, after the pregnancy occurred, I decided to go through with it. I then took myself on a whole new journey, and I constantly struggle with whether or not it was, the best thing for either of us. It's not easy. I'm doing it alone. But I will say that lately, especially, I've been feeling like this is one of those things where I didn't get to control what was next. I had to let go of that control enough to let something happen and for me to navigate it, So I hope that makes sense to you and why I'm saying that and sharing that. Unforeseen, unexpected occurs, and then we have to release that desire to make sense of everything, but also to have the ultimate, ultimately it was my decision to go through with it. However, it required a great deal of sacrifice to this day. It changed the course of events forever. And I have to remain connected to that feeling that this was a spiritual being who was very willful and had found a way to be here. More about sacrifice. For one, I am making this highly personal and telling you lots of stories that I feel prompted to tell because maybe they are relevant to you. Or maybe it's just annoying, in which case you don't have to watch. Sacrifice. Wheel of Fortune. Just more about destiny here and timing. We can't force it. We can't force the timing. We can't force our, we forge our path, but we can't force it. We have to allow for a healthy balance of, destiny and other people's fate and spirit interacting and engaging with ours. So much of this is unseen. And energetically, if you have any feelings of being someone who has bad luck, like someone who is perhaps unlucky, like if you've had those feelings, that would be something to release. The affirmation that I just read you that talked about arrogance and letting go of self-pity. Self-pity, letting go of self-pity is here. And also, though, resentment for the way things turn out and whether or not they feel right or what you expected or what is fair. But I think the good news is what's coming next here in this reading, because the next question is about what is emerging. And I already told you the shaman energy is what is there for you and what is your phoenix, essentially. Talk to me about emerging energy for one. We have a 5 of Pentacles. So 5 of Pentacles is definitely addressing a lack mentality. And I'm not going to, that is not what is emerging for you, is not a lack mentality. I believe it is an abundance and attraction mentality. I know that sounds counter, but these are tools. Cards are tools. This is speaking to me of, the 5 of Pentacles is often about loss and lack and scarcity, right? This is more about those elements changing shape in your life. What is emerging for you is loss being healed, lack being replenished, or scarcity turning into fullness. What is emerging for one? Ace of Wands. What is emerging for you is a new beginning, of course. I mean, look at this fiery, fresh start. If that's not the Phoenix, I don't know what is. It's a place of motivation and expansion and inspiration. This is a very manifesting and creative energy. So coming in for you is this ability to do what you need to do what you want to do, and a real a sense of the life force behind you to do it. If you've been feeling drained, this is an answer to an awakening and a refueling. Like I just imagine like a jet being refueled, just so ready to go for the long haul, go on another leg. And what is emerging? What is emerging energy for one? King of Wands. I mean, you got the Ace and the King of Wands. So this is you being the master. This is you being the visionary. You seeing, what it is you want, and finding ways and being resourceful and being able to make these things happen. This is this card, this King of Wands, has a lot of Leo energy, so there's a lot of strength and courage and vitality here between the two of these. Like a lot of, like I said, life force, a lot of drive coming in for you. This is you next. This is you as you rise, is rising to the top and being that smooth, charismatic, leader. There was so much about leading, and I feel that here. Spirit, talk to me about what I've just said about sacrifice and emerging energy for one. The Devil. I feel like I've given so many talks about the Devil recently. This is what I'm called to tell you. So the way I grew up in the South, and is fairly religious just by nature, the South. And yet you know, my family really wasn't, you know, we didn't do all that. But there's a lot of folklore around the devil in this archetype. And one of the things that I often think about is whenever it would rain, when the sun was shining, people would say, "Oh, the devil's beating his wife." We had the weirdest, you know, Southern sayings. And I think here, this is just speaking to me about creation myths, folklore. So the stories that you've believed and the stories that you've told yourself, you know, perhaps over here, about who you are, about how much you control of your destiny, about being an unlucky person possibly. And the fact, you know, the reality of things, that you are not destined to be in lack, and that you do possess a great amount of willpower and force that you can activate and will be able to access. You know, this is the mythology to me around these beliefs that you've had about yourself and the ideas of, you know, what is possible. I guess to take it just a step further with this devil, I just would like to say, without getting, you know, too much into another deeply personal story, there's just a lot of trust is I think the takeaway of what it is that I want to convey. There's trust in, just because everybody else subscribes to a theory or a belief, that does not necessarily dictate the truth or reality or what you have to believe. You need to trust yourself and what you know about what is right and what is wrong, ethics. And there's a part of me here that wants to say that, to see the devil beside the Five of Pentacles, it makes me feel, again, like it's really important for you to release and let go of self-worth issues. I believe here that this is something that may have negative thoughts about what your worth is, may have been playing too large of a role and been too persistent in your existence thus far. And I think it is time, you know, to let that go, to sacrifice these ideas that you're not worthy or that you're not valuable or that what you have to offer isn't necessarily what people would want. Because what you have to offer here, what is emerging for you as the shaman, with an Ace of Wands and a King of Wands, is very powerful and very effective and causes ripples, and in a good creative way, in a manifesting action way, not just, you know, not just in thoughts and theory, but in actually like affecting experiences. Do you understand what I'm saying there? All right. Okay. I really just want to leave that. Perhaps I'll show you the bottom of the deck. We have a Two of Wands. So regarding this process, this stillness and this groundedness and this knowingness of the purpose you're sent. Two of Wands speaking about being able to see that direction, having the determination and the endurance for it. So, yeah, don't know. I guess these readings are so open and strange that they're either bringing you something you needed to hear, or I'm just, rambling into the void, but who knows? You feel free to let me know. And, this is actually very powerful and amazing. So embrace that high priestess energy, regardless of your sex, gender, etc. Certainly, shaman energy, same. All right, take care. Hello to the second group. We chose FLUX ARCANA deck and Smoky Quartz, Crown the King. The Crown card is here to give me a vibe about your process, and the King is the emerging you, the phoenix, your phoenix, what is coming. So I just will say that it's a little crazy, a crown and a king. It's very nice, very nice, very fitting. Let me also just mention, because I forgot in the intro, and I'm trying to remember with each reading, I did launch my Patreon that I had decided to set up months ago, but was afraid to let it exist, and I've let it be. It's there. If you'd like to check it out, the link will be in the bio somewhere, maybe down below, I don't know. And then, yeah, that's a place where you can support and get really energy exclusive readings. Weekly is what I'm aiming for. Also poetic and creative content of my art and writing. Also an opportunity to receive a small monthly reading, personal, private. So check it out if you're interested. And let me give these some shuffles and get into it. I'll address these more along the way. First thing we want to talk about is what group 2, is sacrificing, releasing. Oh wait, no, first, sorry. First I'm getting current and recent energy. My goodness. Look at me looking ahead, jumping ahead, ready to get on with it. Sorry. Current energy, current, recent and current energy for 2 smoky quartz. Current and recent, we have a 4 of Pentacles. How's everything gonna fit? Because I know it ain't. Oh. Current, recent, 6 of Cups. Current and recent, 8 of Swords. So this may be how you have felt or feel. 4 of Pentacles, talking about maybe you have felt a bit guarded, possessive, of not wanting to share, kind of putting walls around yourself, feeling attached to your own material things, not wanting to let go of things, people that need to be let go of. 6 of Cups, being in a bit of a nostalgic energy, thinking about the past quite a bit, thinking about the way things were versus how they are now. And ultimately here, this 8 of Swords is that trapped place, that mentality that feels stuck, that feels a bit stagnant. There's stagnancy here in the 4 of Pentacles and the 8 of Swords. Those are non-moving kind of, this one won't budge, not wanting to budge, not wanting to give up, not wanting to let go. And this one, not really knowing how to, or where to go or what to do. Just a general feeling of confusion and yeah, just feeling kind of powerless to make changes. So if this feels right to you, that you have maybe been a bit guarded, maybe kind of stuck, this could be stuck in the past as well. I mean, there's stuck here. This is just a stagnation and, you know, not wanting, not being able to, just a real resistance to moving forward, change, letting go, release, but also an element of really just not knowing how. Like it's almost, this Eight of Swords often speaks to me of forces beyond your control, that, you know, even though the Eight of Swords really points to it is in your control, you just don't think it is. But I would like to say further that it could have to do with, you know, just a mental health, kind of being in a slump, you know, and you'll know if that's you or not. Happens. Okay, so next is what is the inspiration and motivation or even triggers right now? What are these things? What is inspiring, motivating, or even triggering group 2 right now? We have an 8 of Wands. This makes me feel like there's a bit of impatience, a bit of a like a feeling of pressure to make a move. Inspiring or triggering. Three of Wands. Inspired by looking at, you know, wanting to be able to see the bigger picture and plan ahead and change. I believe this is a true, you know, despite stagnation, a true desire to make things happen and to change the course of you know, the future, and wanting to take some control in that, wanting to make moves that will affect a better outcome, you know. How is 2 inspired or even triggered right now? And we have the Moon. So definitely an element of confusion showing up here with the 8 of Swords and the Moon. There's certainly, with this, I'm feeling this idea that, you know, there are several options and ways to go, but like over here said, just this feeling of not knowing, you know, I feel like there's a sense of you not knowing that you have the ability to choose, but wanting to, you know, wanting to see the choices clearly before you and make the right decision. However, this overwhelming feeling here of being kind of stuck and not knowing the choice, not knowing the right way to go, you know, not knowing the next move, but feeling this pressure, whether it's internal, external pressure. It could be the demands of life, you know, survival. It could be external, you know, people, exterior energies around you that expect something of you. It could be both of those things. It could be all of this. But it could be internal pressure as well. Just your own clock ticking, where you feel like you have to do something and you don't know what to do and you want to do it, but there's a confusion about what that is. Okay. Let me get another message about all of this and what I've said so far about recent current energy, as well as inspiration and triggers. We have the Fool. So it feels to me like, feels to me like there needs to be just an overall general lightening of the load. Probably a lot of purging of habits, things, relationships, like a real kind of clearance is what I get here with this Fool, like a back to zero, like all right, let's start over, like let's just like this real need to kind of clean, cleanse, purify, and start over. This stuck energy, like let's just, how do we get rid of that? How do we remove blockages so that we can, step fearlessly into the unknown of what is next in the future? Okay. Now we're on sacrifices. This is where hopefully we'll get some information about what to do, because that read straight across as a real vibe of feeling stuck, feeling guarded, feeling stuck in the past, feeling confused, feeling trapped, feeling pressured, feeling like you want to be able to see the future, but there's confusion about which way to go, and just this overall sense of needing to start over. So what does 2 need to consider? Maybe sacrificing or releasing. Whoa. What does 2 need to consider? Sacrificing or releasing. We have a Knight of Wands. I would say this speaks to me about the pressure that I told you I hear with this 8 of Wands, this Knight here. Is just this, you have to release the aspects of this pressure on yourself. This pressure to, know where you're headed and be full force ahead. Like there's a feeling of there's a feeling of expecting inspiration and motivation to just come and save you from all of this. But I feel that what's really required for motivation to start to trickle in, like this 3 of Wands, is going to be the release of the pressure to do it all, to do it now, to do it all. More about sacrifice and release for 2. Nine of Swords. If you're regretting, like if you're having, this sort of mental distress around things you may have done but regret, or, just worry and anxiety and just this sort of feeling of not being worthy, that has to be released. 9 of Swords energy needing to be released is a given at any time that it shows itself. 9 of Swords is hellish, and it's something that, when someone's in it, it's very difficult to tell them how to release it or how to move from it, because it's dark and heavy, and it can weigh you down and make you feel really shredded is what I get, just really torn up and and regretful, or so, especially with the Six of Cups here, I feel like there could be regrets about the way things have been, the way they've gone down, the way they haven't gone down. So there needs to be a release here. A release here of the these old beliefs, and that are causing a bit of turmoil and anxiety. What else does 2 need to know about sacrifice and release right now? We have an Ace of Wands. I feel here, I can't help but feel here, a real pressure to be happy. Whether, again, like it's on yourself, or, you know, from yourself to onto yourself, or from outside, from the outside influences. You know, this is showing up really heavily here with the 8. And now this Ace is what I get for as far as sacrifice and release. An Ace of Wands, which is typically this beautiful, you know, inspired new beginning energy, you know. And I feel that in the context of this question about what is to be released and sacrificed, I feel it really relates to, again, this pressure, which this Knight of Wands said the same, this pressure to know what to do and how to do it, this pressure to feel inspired, quite frankly. It's like, you know, as an artist, I can relate to this pressure to feel inspired, like you're supposed to just always feel it. And it's there's nothing like a creative block when that's what you do, whether it's writing or visual arts. For me, anytime I haven't known what to do, but I constantly feel that urge to do, it is maddening. It is depressing, and it feels like hunger. It feels like emptiness, and it's not good. So I that's what I'm getting for here about what you may need to release, sacrifice. I mean, there's definitely just these feelings of pressure, like whether it's you need to find a way to not allow external forces to put this demand on you. It's difficult in real life. It's difficult in practice, in survival mode, in the way we have to exist. It can be so tricky. But anything that you're putting on yourself, you know, ease up, ease up. Okay. And now, here's where I'm hoping and feeling it's going to get good, because you do have the Crown and you have the King. And with the Crown, we are talking about honor. We're talking about, you know, leadership and victory, and with the King, it's similar, and it's just there's a real strong feeling here between the two of these of maturity. It's a type of growth and resolve or resignation or calmness that comes with having learned the lessons, like having the lessons under your belt, and leading or ruling or living your life from that place of like an earned, I don't want to say status, but like an earned position, like an earned knowingness, an earned new attitude, really. This King card speaks of, you know, making decisions for the greater good and removing the self, you know, the ego from so much of this, practicing humility. And you've already done a lot of work here, I can see, and had a lot of experiences that are putting you through it and giving you a sense of, something to overcome. So this is overcoming, overcoming energy, not overcoming energy, but like it's the overcoming, it's the rising, it's the, like I said, status. It's like reaching a place of understanding and knowing and humility. And then, okay, so emerging energy for 2. We have the Page of Swords. So you may feel coming into you a lot of, I always say curiosity with the Page of Swords, a lot of just real strong mentality here, which is going to be necessary for taking over some of this self-talk that appears to be going on, some of this pressure that appears to be partially from your own self, some of this confusion that could be turned around by your outlook and your mental attitude. It feels like coming in is a renewed energy around mental approaches, or the way you receive messages, or the way you talk to yourself above all. The Page of Swords is much more clever, and becoming just so interested, so interested and curious about the mind and the trappings. So this is where that will to change things is being born. What else is emerging for 2? King of Wands. I mean, there's your king. This king is, well, don't tell anybody, but it's my favorite king. It's the one who's just got this, it's the one who, wants to have it all and sees the way and knows the best way. Regardless of how you feel about politics and such, I like to use, and this is not from a place of anything other than observation about personalities, I like to think of the King of Wands as, sometimes I compare the King of Wands to Obama. And in that, he is a Leo, and just that sort of charismatic, smooth way of talking, of being. It's calm, it's cool, it's real smart. It has a vision. The King of Wands is energy that is, putting in effort, but almost effortlessly. It's like I said when I was talking about this energy, this crown, this king, the vibe I was getting for you up here is what you're emerging into is a very resolved, mature control, like a more easily handled position. Like all of this seems quite difficult, and yet coming in here, we're seeing the birth of a new process mentally, and then of course King of Wands, speaking about this king and crown energy that I was describing. What is coming in? What is emerging? What is the Phoenix? For 2, the Tower. Yeah, you're gonna have the whole shebang, like the whole shift. It can be very daunting to consider a tower in a future position, but it is speaking of radical clarity. It is speaking of always crumbling. It's the tearing down of what was built to rebuild the right way. And for you, I see this as an absolutely necessary piece, because everything up here just spoke to me so intensely of negative self-talk and negative self-worth belief and pressure and confusion and, you know, just a lot of like guardedness and vulnerability, I would say. And so, you know, whatever it is, and sometimes a tower is not even triggered by an event. It doesn't have to be a breakup or a loss of a job or a death of somebody or something crazy dramatic like we often think about with a tower. It can literally be an energetic tower, just an energy where one day you're just like, I see things differently now. I feel things differently now. It's just like that. It can just be like it can be brought to you by forces unseen that have no apparent cause. And suddenly, I just heard that song. I can see clearly now the rain is gone, you know, like just that clarity. And, you know, like I said, it's radical understanding, it's radical truth. There's a revelation, you know? So it feels like that's coming in. And with that, just such a hunger and a thirst for more information and for more of your own ability to take charge, and with so much grace. The King of Wands is quite the graceful commander. And I'd like one more about what I've just said to 2. 10 of Pentacles. There it comes. Your sense of self-worth, your sense of being, your sense of having things you want and deserve in life. Just really abundance and success. You know, the 10 of Pentacles is really, it can be home, it can be family, it can be material wealth, it can be just success and endeavors. But the 10 of Pentacles speaks of having made it work and being at arriving at a place where you want to be. I think to see the King of Wands and the 10 of Pentacles here for the crown and the king, I feel just this overall sense of satisfaction, but it's humble. It's like you will have been through so much to get there. You would never take it for granted, never. And be able to give from this place to others, or certainly to maintain this kind of, you know, for the most part, maintain this mentality and this well-being. It's a lot of security in the 10 of Pentacles, whereas I feel there's a complete lack of security in so many ways going on currently or just previously. Bottom of the deck for you regarding this process, the crown, like taking the win, finding completeness and wholeness in yourself, and being this humble, manifestation of your own personal power is here's the justice. It's balance, it's what's right, and it's deserved and you've earned it. There's a big feeling of you earning it through what I've seen here. So I feel for you to take it a step further. There's definitely I feel like the most of what this reading has done is tell you kind of like how it's been and how it's going, you know, which isn't great. And if that hit you, then that's you. And then there's all this goodness coming in and this radical shift in your perspective, this radical clarity, radical truth around knowing what is, you know, what it is to get you here, to get you to 10 of Pentacles, to King of Wands. But I guess like the part I would like to leave on here is what is to be sacrificed and released as we look at, you know, this descent before the rising of the Phoenix. You know, like I said, this Nine of Swords is heavy and difficult to come out of sometimes, and it will require this sort of tower breakthrough. And sometimes you just have to buckle up and just hold on for dear life and ride the storm. And that's the feeling that I get here, is sometimes it's just time. It's rest and reflection. It's trying to gain clarity through knowing what it is you honor. You probably have a deep space for integrity and honor, like respect. These things matter to you. So it's really a lot of self-care and affirmation around that, the fact that you're a good person who's felt under a lot of pressure, and that this need to move and this need to be inspired can be a hindrance, can be a block if you let it eat away at you, you know? Like sometimes you have to just shut out the outer voices, you know, or the inner outer, you know, like this negative way of thinking, and whatever it is to get you grounded. And with the smoky quartz being, you know, the grounded, the black in the smoky quartz is your carbon that is grounding, and the quartz itself is that higher intuition and that higher knowing. So we're running through all the chakras, and there's just a real feeling here of, which is what these two do, by the way. It's black tourmaline and apophyllite. We're talking about the grounded and the ethereal intuition and knowledge. So, you know, those are both contained right here in one, in the smoky quartz. So I feel for you just getting grounded, and I would say that calling in that your connectedness in from a grounded place, and less of a, if you've been, you know, kind of pleading, or if you've spent a lot of time crying lately, or any of these sorts of things, it's cyclical, and it's what you're telling yourself, and it's repeating itself, and eventually it'll wear itself out. But you might have better luck, it might work better for you. It might be to your advantage to actually shut it off. Like just shoot, I wish I could tell every single person how to do that, because I know how it can be. But getting grounded, for me, a lot of times that's just as simple as a bath. Just really just zoning out in and allowing myself that moment and that rest, when at times in the day or night when there's really literally nothing else. Like it doesn't, yes, you know, after my kids go to sleep at night, I could try to summon the energy to be creative and make things and do things, but sometimes what I really need to do is shut everything off, because if I'm not feeling particularly inspired, it's not helping me to pressure myself to do those things, you know. So I'll have that time finally at the end of the night, and I'll feel like I should be drawing, you know, I should be writing right now, but I don't have it in me. So I have to give myself permission and ease up and allow myself to just take the bath, watch the like rom-com, you know, whatever it is that helps your spirit just sort of be soothed and reset, because coming in is Page of Swords, and that's gonna be some new insight and some new inspiration and a fresher mentality, but you're gonna have to rest in order to get that, I think. So that's what I have. I'm going to end because I could go on and on and on, but I hope this was helpful for anyone who made it this far, and hopefully I'll see you again. Thank you so much. Hello to group 3. You chose the Black Opal, Tarot of the Holy Spectrum, Sun, and the other oracle that I have for you is the Pilgrim. This is more about your process, and this is more about the emerging energy, the Phoenix, what is coming, what are you coming into? I will certainly get into those more momentarily. I do want to mention what I forgot in the intro, and I've been trying to remember, is that I did launch my Patreon account. So if you're interested, it'll be linked in my bio. It's a place where I'm going to do a weekly reading that is collective and general for everyone who is there. So those energies I expect will be present if anybody's there. The less of you there are, the more your energy is there. And there's another option for that plus a monthly personal reading. So yeah, check that out if you're interested. We talked about that recently, someone in the comments. So I went ahead and launched it. Why not? Things are changing. Things are changing. Where we invest our energy, I feel, is collectively changing. What we've decided we want versus what we have begun to see as attainable is changing. Okay. And I'll just add, because I don't know what we're getting into here, the first 2 readings were kind of different from each other, like very different from each other. You know, as far as like kind of the energy that showed up in the beginning. The outcomes are all, I'm expecting, good. Yeah, but one of the readings prior to this one had a great deal of me telling personal stories, and the other one didn't so much. So I don't know what to expect here, but I will say off, you know, from the start here, that your process is self-actualization, like a lot of realization about who you are, a lot of illumination around, or spotlight on your core essence. And that may be, or what is coming in, this aspect of you that is the pilgrim, that is seeking, that is searching, that is traveling, that is on the move, that is energized, and that wants to embrace, you know, that which hasn't been done before, seen before, known before. Like, there's, with all of the readings, there was a feeling of ascension and going into a place of having more control or having more power type of thing. This reading, it does have that, but it's more a feeling of embracing your core truth about who you are. There's a big feeling there of that. The sun being your vitality, the sun being, at the time of recording, you know, we're going into a solar eclipse where that may the darkness itself may bring up these very issues, which is what this reading is also supposed to illuminate. So I can feel off the bat that this is a group that is, this will contain interesting people, you know, with something kind of unique about themselves, people who generally just want to be happy. I mean, everyone wants to be happy, but like it's a real, I say a lot of things like that, and then I'm like, no, like there's some people just like really strive through thick and thin and better or worse times, you know. So that's there. And the black opal being used to sort of quell fear and anxiety and be soothing. I do get this overall sense of peace and like I said, in acceptance for really kind of this awareness about these parts of yourself. So let's find out more. The first question is current and recent energy. Recent and current energy of 3. Recent and current energy of 3. Goodness, starting off with the 7 of Swords. Excuse me. Current and recent. 4 of Swords. Current and recent for 3. High Priestess. So I can see here that quite possibly you've been kind of trying to get away from something or some things about your life. Really not wanting to take a look at certain aspects of maybe yourself, but certainly your life. Like not wanting to own certain parts and pieces that are not serving you and not really wanting to deal with those things. And then this 4 of Swords speaking about taking some time, like really just contemplating what to do, looking for peace, kind of shutting down a bit. And the High Priestess, of course, you may be turning to your own higher self or consult like this, for example, for answers here you're seeking. 4 of Swords energy being just that time out and that, you know, like not wanting to fight anymore, not wanting to struggle, not wanting to be upset, not wanting conflict, like whatever it is, just being like, like I said, like it could be like even shutting down to the point of shutting down a bit, or wanting to literally take a lot of naps. Like I know that's on the card, but like that's a 4 of Swords energy. I've seen 4 of Swords show up when people I was asking about were literally asleep. And I mean like asleep, like eyes closed, snoring asleep. And this 7 of Swords, you know, like I said, like this desire to kind of just turn away from things going on. Like really, it almost feels like just not feeling like you can get away with certain things anymore, you know? Like Like you're not able to just avoid something any longer, and what to do about it is in contemplation mode and unknown mode and seeking consult mode. Trying to access intuition, trying to find answers within and around. That's what I get for current and recent energy, if that feels like you. And then what is inspiring, motivating, or even triggering 3? Inspiration, motivation, or possibly even triggers. You may be motivated by the need to find resolutions to conflict. Wanting to move towards something better, away from drama. Maybe wanting to get a handle, figure out how to deal with some of your own possibly self-destructive ways. Feeling like you're not measuring up to your own standards. I just felt. Maybe not measuring up to society standards, but I did feel a strong sense here of wanting change because something isn't working, and part of that is feeling like you're not giving your best, doing your best, getting your best. More about inspiration, motivation, or even triggers for 3. The Magician. With the High Priestess here, the Magician here, there's definitely a sense of wanting to, like you may feel inspired to take the reins, take control, manifest, be that driver, be that power player who has, you know, the resources and the ability to carve out this life how you want it. It may be different from, you know, what is conventional. It may be different. So you're looking for ways to make it happen, to make it your reality, to do it your way. Feeling motivated by that desire to have the connection and, you know, to your higher truth and your higher self and your higher calling, and know how to bring it into the 3D. And the Hierophant. More motivation, more inspiration. Definitely a big spiritual calling here to learn from those before you. This is what I'm getting. Those before you who have done things in a different way, in an unconventional way. This desire to look at, you know, pioneers of the past who forged paths that were not on the map, and wanting, you know, spiritual guidance and but really just these lessons from your own dare I say, like heroes or idols or just people you respect, and these entities that you feel may feel exist, like any archetypes that you take into that you hold dearly and you sort of turn to or look to if you have those. Any sort of ancestral guidance that you may feel connected to, that is also, that you feel like it's in your blood, you know, to be this way. It could be also a motivating force or an inspiring force for you, like this feeling of something just being in your blood and being in your being and being in your bones and your DNA, like something that is connecting you to something wiser and older, and yet sets you apart from the way things may be now in general and in your life, how things have been, things you haven't wanted to accept or deal with. A lot of contemplation around this Magician and Hierophant. Definitely High Priestess energy, looking for that intuition and that knowing and these connections. Okay, so what do I need to know about what I've said so far regarding current energy and inspiration and such? For 3. 6 of Swords. It's time to move forward toward better days, better times, better life, better you, the sun, possibly travel. I mean, you do have the Pilgrim and the 6 of Swords here as a message. There could be a great deal of, this is movement, you know, this is movement toward the better. The Pilgrim is movement. So in the embracing of who you are and how you want to live and finding your own way and listening to the pioneers, you know, I sense that nothing's going to be able to stop you from doing this. Nothing. It's just going to happen. You're not someone who, even if you're in a period of rest now, or any bit of denial, or any bit of avoidance now, this High Priestess calling to you, the nudging you, urging you, living in your heart constantly, regardless of the things that are going on, wants to find better, wants to fix, wants to recreate, wants to mend, wants to make the way you want it, the way you see it, the way you feel it, regardless of how everyone else sees or feels it. And that's good. That's rad. Okay, what may need to be sacrificed or released in this journey, in this shedding, in this regeneration, in order to regenerate? Knight of Wands. Showed up in the same place for the last, guys. Interesting. What's interesting, oops. What's interesting to me about this Knight of Wands is that it is the very energy of, that I was discussing. It was the very energy of the Pilgrim. It's the very energy of some of the aspects I was talking about here about forging your own way. You know, the Knight of Wands is a very determined and passionate, driven movement. It's going for it, and it's so to show up in the sacrifice or release, there's something about the way you move forward that has to change. And maybe that's the information you're downloading here. But we'll get more into that because I'm very curious what this means, why this showed up here. Because it literally, as a sacrifice, just speaks to me about something about the way you're doing it. The way you're doing it needs to be changed, released. Maybe just your belief about the way to do it has to be altered. Let's see. More about release and sacrifice for this regeneration. We have the Queen of Swords. Okay, so yeah, there's this energy here of kind of just thinking only super, like as a perfectionist, like thinking that this is the only way. So these two together are giving me the feeling that something that needs to be released is the way you're moving forward is by thinking that it can only be this way, that this is it, that you know how it has to be and this is how it has to be. But perhaps you need to open your mind and open your heart to more answers, you know, about how to move forward. We're saying like how to move forward, more information about how to manifest what you really want, to like really look to those who came before you, maybe something in your deep inside of you and your soul and your blood that knows a more true way. If you're going to be open to the adventure, to bringing in the spotlight on your self and your core, your essence, and you're ready to embrace this traveling, wandering spirit of yours that is here to learn and grow. You know, there's something that has to be released around your idea, your thought control, your perfectionism, your my way only, my way, I move this way because this is the right way kind of energy. It's funny because this is the Knight of Wands and the Queen of Swords, so we're talking fire and air, but I swear I get so much earth energy here. You know, the earth signs, Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo, all being so very stuck in their ways, like so very sure their ways are the right ways, you know, all of them. The Capricorn energy of like, I've thought this out the most methodically and the most strategically, and this is the best possible plan of action. And the Virgo being like, I've overthought this and overthought this, and this is the way it is because, you know, I made the most sense of it this way. And then like the Taurus energy, and I say this with love because I'm a Taurus, but like I'm just right. Like I'm just right because I know. But sometimes we have to release that. So maybe you have strong earth placement, particularly in, it could be anywhere. It could be in your sun. It could be in anything. It could be in your moon or rising. It could be in your Mercury. It could be in your Mars. Okay. More about sacrifice and release to regenerate. Strength. I love the Strength card, I do. And sometimes it brings more messages than others, but sometimes it feels like the most obvious card in the deck. But I feel here, in the context of what it is to, you know, that may need to be released or sacrificed, again, it's just this sort of an area where you may have felt like an expert, or like where you were bold, you know. This Knight of Wands is moving forward with with boldness and certainty, and this strength of mind and this strength of will. And it's not that you have to give up your will and your strength of will, but there is a certain release necessary here around, this part of yourself that you felt was the driver, that you felt was the leader, that you felt was the force within you that most ruled your life. So whatever that is, there may be this something that needs to go around that belief, and this, strength always being related to Leo. Sometimes I would say that there's something about vanity and ego here. Strength, sun, there's something about, and I said the sun is the process card here, and it's like seeing your core. There's something that you're not seeing about your core, quite possibly, or that you do believe about your core that may not be entirely your, the truth. So incoming would be a willingness to look at other possibilities around where your strengths lie, where your courage is, what you really are, essentially. This reading has a lot of ego and self-awareness energy. I'm beginning to feel I need to read to you something I read in the first reading that I saw this morning. It's my, in the Chani app. It's my affirmation of the week. I don't know if it's everybody's. I don't know how this works, but it's so beautiful and appropriate for this reading, and it's appropriate for you as well here. This is it. Rebirth is my right, but it requires me to make a sacrifice to its fire. I offer my self-pity, my arrogance, and my resentments in exchange for my renewal. Now, I already knew that this reading was going to be about Phoenix, Phoenix rising energy, renewal, regeneration, scorpionic stuff, solar eclipse stuff. I already knew that. And then this morning I read that affirmation and I was like, oh yes, this is the reading to do today. But that really stuck, and I read it in, I believe, reading 1 as well, because, and I feel it here, this arrogance, I don't see as much the self-pity or even possibly a tinge of resentment for not being able to just do it your way. But that idea of arrogance and knowing that like this feeling that the only way, that what is right in the only possible way. There's this sort of like, if you can release that, you are permitting room for something else, a new belief, a new way of seeing yourself, and a new way of seeing your journey. Okay? Talk to me about what is emerging for 3. What is emerging? Nine of Wands. So with this 9 of Wands, I'm getting like a deep strength, like a deep reserves, like this feeling of I find this, one of the things I love about this deck is that the illustrations are quite different from a lot of the others, and it offers like this other beautiful interpretation. And here on this 9 of Wands, this person is just asleep. They're like, it's almost like this 4 of Swords, this rest and this time out. And you don't normally see that with the 9 of Wands. But in order to access that 9 of Wands energy, like standing your ground, finding your courage, and, protecting yourself, being confident, being strong, like, it feels to me like calling on your reserves of strength inside, and like your core knowing of how to move forward. And I feel like for you coming in is this sort of period of release and reliance upon what is within you, and this strength that is within you, allowing yourself to see it differently and feel it differently, and to do so in a way that is without resentment toward yourself. It doesn't have to be a blow to you, to your ego, or to your sense of self or worth or your plan. Just a willingness, a grace and the willingness to let this part of you make room for more. You've sold yourself short, is the feeling that I just got, in believing that it had to be this way because you know it so well. You knew who you are. But who you are is an evolving person, and when was the last time you checked in? And maybe you check in all the time, but I mean, I'm getting here that there's more, and it's shining. The light on that more is coming down. And more about emerging energy for 3. We have an 8 of Cups. This is the strength and the ability to walk away from that which hasn't served you. And these old ideas, I believe, these outdated beliefs. When we're looking for solutions and we're looking for, connectedness and a strength and ability and a strength and manifestation power, there's, here I get with the 8 of Cups, there's more to let go of, and there's more to find within, in leaving behind certain aspects of your approach, is what I get. Like certain, certain priorities. This is reprioritizing energy, the 2 of these beside each other. This is really taking a good look and reprioritizing, and if you put that in line with here, maybe easing up the grip on some of these notions and ideas and beliefs around how it would go and how it has to be done. And one more about emerging energy for 3. Ace of Swords. Emerging is that clarity, and especially under here, this Hierophant and beside this Magician too, there's the clarity and the powerful knowingness about who you are, what you want to do, how how to proceed, and in ways that haven't served you. Clarity about, like I said, this reprioritizing. Clarity about where energy has been expended, where thoughts have been stuck and fixed, very fixed. Clarity around the truth and knowing what needs to change. And then one more about what I've just said to 3. We have a 6 of Wands. Beautiful. So 6 of Wands, speaking about feeling good and feeling respected, feeling successful, feeling praised, feeling like the sun is shining on you, feeling like you're having your moment, and you're feeling your purpose, and I love that the 6 of Wands has it just has this feeling of like the way home, you know, the home with the lights on and the tall wands guiding the way. Like, it's like, it feels to me so much, oh God, I love this deck. It feels to me so much like finding your way. And if you're the pilgrim, if you're coming into that and you're embracing who you really are and how you want to live and what it is you need to do, that's what is good for you to know, is that you're finding your way to center. You're finding your way to home, your core, this illumination shining on your being and your essence. Here it is, like you're calling and yourself, and you're coming into a place of pride and respect and high self-worth, and something that just feels so right. Oh shoot. I just compulsively started shuffling, but what I meant to do was show you the bottom deck because there was the message about the sun. It was the final card. I'm just gonna have to pull one then. Let me get one for you. Talk to me about the sun. Fuck, I hate that I did that. This process, this illumination. All right, I got the Hermit. So I don't know what it was. The world will never know what it was, but the Hermit is you know, that's that soul searching. That's looking for the truth deep inside. So it feels very appropriate. It feels appropriate to this, you know, this time out energy of the Four of Swords and this sort of adaptation of a Nine of Wands. It certainly resonates to me with High Priestess, Magician, and Hierophant, the idea of really seeking answers within. You have a lot of majors. So, okay. Well, that's what I have for you. And I hope it was helpful. It's certainly interesting. I want to keep going so badly. On all three of them I've wanted to, but I really have to go. Anyway, let me know what you think. And hopefully I'll see you again.